I'm Ramon Chen. I'm the Chief Product Officer here at Acceldata. It's my pleasure to follow Rohit and Ashwin. And together with Joe, my trusty data engineer, is the persona he's going to play. I'm going to play a business person to start. And what you're going to see in this reveal of our platform is multi-agent collaboration. Very excited to show you that. A new business notebook interface. We believe this is the future of interacting with agents. Business and IT collaboration with Agent in the Loop. Cassie, in the morning, talked about go and ask questions and get advice from humans. And then she said, go and ask and get advice from agents. Well, we're going to show you how you can do both together in a collaborative fashion. We're going to talk about enterprise-grade access controls, the lamp that Cassie was talking about that holds the genie, that also defines what you can wish for. We have that at enterprise scale. And we're also going to show dynamic dashboards from conversations, auto-magically deploying and surfacing visuals dynamically without you having to custom create dashboards. And we'll also discuss how you and our partners can build agents on top of this corpus of metadata that we're collating across the enterprise. So let's get started. Okay, so the agents that Rohit and Ashwin talked about, what are they and what do they do? Well, here's a sampling of a metadata agent, a profiling agent, all of which you'll see in action shortly as I launch a request. The metadata agent, as an example, just like a human being, has specific capabilities and skills. And you can tune and create new agents by controlling what they have access to in regards to their functionality. This is all customizable. This gives you a fine-grained level of control to manage your agents. So we'll come back to agents in a minute. So my morning started today, and I got notified. And it got notified that there was some problem with potentially the monthly revenue and the ARR that we're delivering as a company. So I got this notification because I got an alert because an agent had been hard at work for me, like Cassie said, while I was asleep. So the agent basically, and here you're seeing business notebooks that basically are collation and collections of prompts and activities and actions that have been brought together and saved. You can see that this agent alert from revenue impacting assets has been run 15 times. And then most recently, looking at the run history, it was run this morning, and that's when I got my alerts. To show you what this agent was doing, I'm going to copy this and run a real live prompt. So I'm going to copy this here. But because I think about Terminator, and when these things start to move around a bit, I'm going to be very polite to it, so hopefully they'll spare me when the time comes. So please, can you tell me which assets with the lowest data quality have impact to my revenue this month? So I'm going to let that go. Okay, so now what you're seeing is agentic data management in action, right? All right, it starts with an orchestrator. An orchestrator, it's now looking at a knowledge base to find information, and it's invoked its first agent, the DQ agent. It's checking quality metrics, and then because of my question and the goals, it's looking for something that's specifically tied and related to revenue. It's returned some information, and the orchestrator has collated that data. Now it's bringing in a metadata agent that's saying, okay, let me look at these assets, and I will also look at it from my perspective as to which one of these are related that have low quality, because that's what you're asking for. Now, tagging and classifying agent serves two purposes. It's looking at existing classifications, but it's also preemptively thinking about, well, what was not classified and needs to be tagged, which Joe will talk about in a second. And now it's also going through and now re-invoking the data quality agent to check quality metrics. Now, while this is cooking, I'm going to show you something else. So you saw that it keyed into a knowledge base. So for the first time ever, instead of just structured data, we're now bringing together the ability to import unstructured documents. What we have here, and I'm going to use an example from the next speaker, a Deloitte white paper on BCBS 239, is the ability to assimilate this unstructured information and use it in context with this question that I've asked about my revenue impact. And then you'll see later, what Joe will show you is that he can also then use this information to assess compliance. And that's an incredible thing. So I go back, I can see here that this would be the outcome of the assessment that it's made. And now it's pointed the finger at this offending asset, sev-rev process transactions. Now, I'm smart, but I'm not as smart as Joe. It's not as smart as the average Joe, in fact. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Joe into this conversation together with the agent, and we'll collaborate together to diagnose this situation. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pick a set of users, and I'm going to share this with Joe, and I'm going to invite him to come on stage with me. Okay, Joe, please join me. But what you're going to see now is the first collaboration between human beings with an agent involved, a three-way dialogue between us all. And I think that's going to be amazing.
It popped on my screen. I got a message from Ramon. I've been invited to a chat. Actually, I had just gotten alerted because I had agents running too. As a good tech partner, I want to be ahead of my business partner. And let them know I'm already taking a look at these assets and I'm going to dive in, right? Now, we're online now. Okay. So I had already, as I said, gotten an alert from one of my agents that are running. And I knew that as soon as he pinged me and I looked at that chat, it was one of those assets I was already looking at, right? I could invite him into this chat that I'd already engaged, but for the purpose of today, we'll just keep going forward. So I asked a pretty open-ended question. Just show me those assets that are related to regulatory reporting, because I know that particular one is involved and it has impact to revenue, right? So it gives me a summarization of all those assets, and I can start thinking more about what I want to find out. It also gives me actions I can take immediately. So these blue boxes are actually actions the agents can do for me, right? I can initiate right from here. If we wanted to, the agent could just take off and do them for us, but we're keeping the human in the middle of this loop right now. So it's giving me these actions, telling me additional questions to follow up on, or I can just start asking my own. So in this case, I want to know what's the latest policy score on these assets. Now, we talked before in our lingo, a policy is a set of controls, business controls, checks on the freshness of the data, checks on business rules, et cetera, the controls that you put in place to understand the value of your data. So it's gathered all those for me. Again, things I can do on my own, but it's going to go get those signals and bring them back and start putting them in context for me. So one of the things that I've always said about our platform is we bring in lots of signals, right, from lots of different areas. Bringing those all into context and making sense of it is what we have the ability to do now. And having agents do that for me, hey, they can see that bigger picture and bring in more elements, more signals more quickly, right? And start giving me key observations on what I should possibly do. Maybe I should go create a new data quality policy. Maybe I should create a reconciliation. Now, in this case, I want to say, well, show me more details about the specific quality issues that Ramon brought up on a particular asset. Now, I happen to know this asset is about checking to see any transactions that come in that are reversals actually balanced to the original transaction that might have happened a month ago or whatever. But this particular asset is checking those reversals that they actually balance, right? So I'm now going back in, but it's actually telling me what the context of the policy of the check we put in place is. And it's telling me a little bit about the current issues. Now in my demos, I don't run hundreds of millions of records. They get in trouble when my Databricks bills get up too high. I get yelled at, but sorry, Rowan. In any case, it starts giving me a historical perspective because again, it's saying, I've got a lot of data. Let me look back in time. I didn't specifically ask for that. It said, let me give you that expert advice. And it gave me a visualization right out of the box, right? Now think about that. I could have gone to this policy or that policy and looked at its historical piece and come around, but it just said, I'm just going to give you that bit of data that you need and visualize it for you, right? Now, okay, that's pretty good, right? Pretty neat. And it's telling me a few other items in there. Hey, what about it? There's analysis. There's these mismatched transactions. Now, that chart is great, but I actually want it a little bit different. So I can go ahead and ask it, you know what? I really want that as a line graph with underlying bar charts. So again, I can iterate on this to get it the way I want, right? Share it back with Ramon, send it off as a PDF or something, share it with others, bring other collaborators in so I can get to the root of this particular problem, right? Again, it's going to give me key observations throughout and try to make conclusions. Well, whether it's I've got a performance trend that's improved from August to July, it's looking back and giving me the analysis. Why? Because we have all these signals and it has the energy to go pull that together. Could I have done that by myself? Sure, I could have gotten all those bits of data, but it can do it for me much more quickly. So if you think about how long it would have taken to get to an understanding of how this has performed and what problems I've had, without the tool, with our basic tool, with our agent, I go from maybe weeks to maybe hours to minutes in terms of getting under the covers and trying to understand what's happening so that I can take action, or I can release those agents to do whatever those agents are going to do. That's why I say please, because
That's
like
right.
you.
Say please. Always say please if you're prompting tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Right from here, I can continue to say, hey, help me visualize. I know problems don't happen, in a vacuum. They usually are coming, somewhere upstream. So let me look back, right? Because we collect these signals about the pipelines that are moving them, the lineage a system has assets to, right? Now, again, all along the way, I could have just said, hey, you know what? Let's scroll back up. I need to create a reconciliation policy or a data drift policy. Go ahead and click the button. It'll start taking me through right here the actions to create that. Now, again, I could let the agent loose and just go do it and find the critical things, or you can keep the person in the loop. And we'll give you the ability to do it both ways, right? So one way or the other, we're not dictating how you should react with the system. We're going to let you work with the system the way you need to work with it.
And Joe, so this is another thing that Cassie had mentioned about ensuring that the intent is correct and that the trust of the question that's being asked is relevant. And so while the systems and the agents can act autonomously, you will want in critical aspects to have a human in the loop and have verification. And that's what you're showing right here.
And then I really connected what Cassie said is, why are we going to bring in things like, there's things I've worked with this system for a few years now. And, I know where to go for things. Could I get here faster than there? But when you start thinking about trying to get to root cause, there's not one path, right? I can't say to a new guy, well, this is how you get to root cause, because it's always dependent on the problem. The value of all our signals is to be able to correlate all those. The ability for the agent to traverse all those more quickly than I can brings me those elements so I can get to root cause so much quicker.
Fantastic. Now, Joe, so we've seen a lot of good stuff, and it's happened in minutes instead of hours, days, or even weeks. But the big hanging question is, are we really going to let agents loose on all this valuable information and metadata? How can we trust it? To use that analogy again around the lamp and the genie, what kind of lamp does Acceldata put in place before allowing agentic capability?
Yeah, that's great question. Agents are going to take action, so they need to live by the same rules that people are going to live by, right? You have an organization where you've decided that Mahesh should see this data, but not that data, right? Joe has the ability to act on this data, but just view that data, right? We talk about our role-based access control and resource-based access management, et cetera. Agents need to live by those rules when they are acting on my behalf, right? Now that can get a little complicated in an enterprise model. So while we built out this infrastructure to allow you to control that access, we've also given you the tools to help you understand what's going on, to visualize it. So I brought up Mahesh, who's our CMO, and I'll zoom in this a little bit, right? He's in product marketing group. And because of that, he is getting a role of a viewer, but he also has access to this domain of data producer, which is a data product that we have. And it's made up of resources, tables, reports, things like that, right? He has access to that with a role, a resource viewer. He can see what's going on, right? If I pull up myself in my role, that's a Murphy's Law thing where,
His last name is Murphy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I was hoping to get through one demo finally without it. Come on.
Yeah, never work with an actor. Someone said never work with children, pets, and now I think we add LLMs.
LLMs. Never work with LLMs. Yeah. Okay. So in this case, now I have access to a lot more, right? Because I have a role of a data engineer. I have multiple domains of data. But the key thing I want to point out to you is here, I'm the resource owner. If I click on here, I can see these domains. I have roles to take action, right? But if I click over here, I have just a viewer role on the reference data. I don't, as an engineer, own responsibility for reference data in my organization, but I have a need to use it so I can view it. So we have a rich environment. I don't want to say it's complex, but it can handle complex problems to give appropriate access to appropriate users in an enterprise model, right? Now you can pivot either way. Thank you. Say, who has access to this? Who has access to what? But this is what's going to enable you to add the trust and add the control to let those agents loose.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Joe.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm going to switch back. All right, so what I'm going to talk about to close is, so you've seen the power of these agents. You've seen the ability to secure them. Now, what if, and to the context of the notebook, I asked a series of requests and actions of the agent. Now, during this session here that I'm scrolling through, I've gotten a lot of information because I've asked specifically around what my sales operations and what the dependencies are. So Mike McCade, our CRO, would be very, very interested in this. Now, the system, you've already seen Joe be presented with a visual dynamically through his discussions and chatting with the agent. But now what I'm going to show you is even more mind-blowing, in my opinion, which is to dynamically generate a dashboard through those conversations. This is just, every time I open this, it blows my mind that it can accomplish this. So you can then save this, but essentially it's visuals at the speed of responses and thought. Extremely powerful. One final thing is, because there's a lot of experienced data professionals in the room here, what of traditional data cataloging? What of traditional data governance, as Rohit has described? Well, those technologies and those capabilities and processes have not changed for over 20 years. I know because I've been around that long and more and seen these things when they were first unveiled. So I thought, why don't I ask the LLM? The LLM and the agents know about my system. They know about the corpus of my data. So instead of guessing as to how to create data products, I'm just going to ask it a question. Based on my business operations and the information that you've collated, What are the assets to the pipelines that should be cataloged and profiled as new potential data products? Now, to me, this is a mind-blowing opportunity to actually develop the right data products for the right users, for the right intent, so that you also identify the value and the usage patterns through the platform. You can see here it's collated customer-related assets, transactional and financial assets, marketing offers, and business operations assets. And then just as before, I'm going to ask to visualize this, and you can see it's created charts that show the distribution of these potential assets by category, and it's recommended to me the list of data product candidates. This is something that people are flying blind with today when implementing a data catalog and cataloging the entire enterprise, and they never finish cataloging elements that may not be critical to the business. So this is another incredible thing. Thank you very much. And to close, I'm going to go back to the concept of agents. As you might imagine, this is not just our agents. They're agents going to be developed by our partners. Deloitte is going to present shortly after me. BCBS 239 agents and HIPAA agents for healthcare and life sciences and more. And how is this going to look? Finally, I'm going to execute a workflow that's been predefined that generates and executes agents. And I'm going to run this. And you can see that it's systematically going to take the governance information that was applied from our knowledge base, as well as our metadata of our assets, and the agents are going to go to work and make sure that I'm compliant to that particular rule and policy. And with that, I will summarize here with a final slide. What did you just see? Well, you saw agentic data management and data observability, the first in the world type combination right here, right today. Really excited to share that. Thank you. It's proactive, it's autonomous, and it does diagnosis and actions. It's intent-based, it's persona-aware, so it knows how to respond to me. It will take rapid resolution from weeks to minutes, but most importantly, it's going to be preventative. And it's going to find all those issues before your business teams are. It's petabyte scale, enterprise-wide access controls with the genie and the lamp. And it's here and it's now. And I encourage you to come take a look at it at our booth. With this, I want to invite Ashwin to come back on stage. Thank you.